Absolutely correct, Grant. Let's jump on into Romanticide. LE and Grant, why don't you introduce the first player?
Gonna do that, Krystianer. The first player in the top left, he is the Polish Protoss player. He is the Polish Protoss player representing a Blazer Esports. In the red, it's Krystianer.
And his opponent down in the bottom right-hand side in the blue, representing Cascade Esports and Germany. He is GunGFuBanDa.
That logo is so clean.
The Cascade logo?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love, you know me, Grant. I'm a sucker for a good StarCraft 2 team logo. And oh man, the Cascade logo is so so good. Look at that.
Really like octopuses, octopodes, octopi.
Yes.
It is octopody technically, right? Octopody.
All of them are acceptable. If you were following the traditional root language guidelines, octopody would be correct, but octopi and octopuses are all acceptable in modern parlance.
Okay. So we do have a slight variation in builds, not just in the way we speak and talk about octopus, but also in the game. It does look like GunGFu is going to be going for a 2 racks up on the high ground. Meanwhile, we do have the 1 racks expand on the low ground from Krystianer. What that means is GunGFu, especially if you were to go double Adept or double Stalker, is going to have a bit more pressure, but the tech is going to be quicker here from Krystianer as he does skip that gateway, and his Nexus should be a bit faster too.
Very rare to see barracks expands in a PvP, Grant, but somehow you brought them. You definitely said racks on the low ground, but I'm not going to hold you to it because we all do dumb stuff all the time. It's the same way. I mean, I call like Stargate and Starport to me are the same fucking building. Yep. And the second I get it wrong, Twitch chat immediately loses their minds. But it doesn't matter. We all know what you meant, and I'm glad we're here in a PvP, man. This is going to be a really fun one. I think these two players, both of them have a chance to move on. Yeah. GunGFu is sort of a grizzled veteran of the scene, been around for a long time, but Krystianer, a young gun, he's like 17, 19 years old, something really young. Let me confirm, yeah, he's 17 years old, really young, and I had really high hopes for him today in the ESL Group A DreamHack Summer. I really was hoping he would make a big, deep run and surprise us. He just hasn't done that much, Grant. He took 1 game overall, and it was against Showdown, who is, again, probably not the strongest player in the group. I was really hoping to see some upsets from Krystianer, but fingers crossed he can show something better in the last half of the map, in the last half of the group.
Yeah, not only that, of course, the future very bright. We still have a couple more years of this, so a lot of opportunity for players like him, like Arog Fire, who apparently has just turned 14, which just blows my mind to grow. Unreal. And also, my man in chat, Bluk Milan, come on, you can do it. Okay, double Stargates from both here. As we can see, Krystianer has finished a little bit slower because he does have that Nexus down much, much quicker. His Nexus halfway or 50% further ahead than that of his opponent. We do see Stalkers coming out across the board, and an Oracle here from GunGFu that will hit quick, but we've already got batteries going down in the mineral lines, I think, to be honest, Crayon, so I can't see this finding much damage at all, and now we get to see what comes as the follow-up.
Yeah, the follow-up's always the tricky part, you know? Going Oracle first or Void Ray first is sort of common these days, but it depends on how many Oracles you really want to crank out of here. GunGFu gonna throw a wrench into the plans, though, and goes for a Phoenix after that Oracle. Now, Grant, that is gorgeous. Not only because usually if you're going for Phoenix, it's your first unit out of a Stargate, and it's pretty easy to spot that timing. If you go for the Oracle and disguise the Phoenix opener behind that, you got a lot of options. You can go for the Mass Phoenix build, you can go for Phoenix Colossus, you can go for really whatever you want to do here. I'm very excited.
Yeah, I'm curious if he's going to keep producing them or if he's just making one. He is just making one to push away the Oracle, which is going to end up working out. Of course, this Oracle not going to find any real damage, but the Stasis... Oh, cute, Krystianer. Gets us around on the Stasis Ward, immediately wasting all of the energy. The Stasis Ward doesn't even get a chance to show its face. And behind this, GunGFu is going for Blink. His Forge is going to be a bit later, if I'm correct. Yep, it is. We do have a couple of workers going down at the natural, so that's a good start for Krystianer here. He stops the stasis. His Oracle finds some damage, albeit just a tiny amount. And as long as he doesn't take any damage on the other side, he's up 4 workers already, and that's a very promising start here for the young Polishman.
Yeah, barely gets that photon, or that pylon finished up, canceled in time. So the Adepts don't sneak in, which is nice. And of course, a revelation onto the Oracle. Look at that. Both Oracles counter-revelated. But luckily, Krystianer's going to save his Oracle. I agree with your analysis, though. Slightly earlier Nexus, Grant. got a couple kills on the other side. I'm very, very excited about how Krystianer can do this game. Letting the Adepts in is not great, but again, GunGFu doesn't want to sack those Adepts this early. He's going for a third base now, going for Blink. There's no point in giving up any of that additional damage and that additional scouting early in the game.
Yeah, the Phoenix Oracle combination still sharking about down here to the southwest, now heading up north. And if the Oracle can find a little bit of damage, that would put GunGFu right back in this. Of course, we're sitting there talking about how Krystianer has found a bit of a lead. This is a mirror matchup, so even small differences are big differences. And here we go. No. Gets a couple of Stalkers, if nothing else. Those Stalkers are now out of commission for a moment. Could allow a little bit more counter play from the Oracles and things like that. As that anti-air is now gone. We see upgrades coming across the board. Krystianer with a slight lead there. His blink is going to be slower, but it doesn't look like GunGFu gearing up for an attack, as both players are really focusing on just powering up right now, adding on gateways and robos now. But it's a very slow start to the race.
And that's great. You know, it's the first game, Grant. I've been off caffeine for the whole year, so I don't have any like artificial energy flowing through my veins. I love the pace of a PvP that starts off slow. Usually what that means is that we're going to get some nice late game fights, some really good strategery, some unit countering going on, and if we're very fortunate, some chess match style positioning battles between these players.
Yeah, I love the explosivity of a late game PvP when you get in things like disruptors or robotics bay tech and blinking DTs counterattacking everywhere, bunches of Archons. PvP is it always ends with a bang and never really a whimper, which I just love to see. We're getting a lot of Stalkers coming in for Krystianer right now, who has an upgrade advantage. He's at the other side of the map, and I talked about explosivity. This is a pretty explosive move out. Doesn't look like he'll commit though.
Nah, shield battery's already up to third. We got another pylon to support these things, and of course warp-ins from GunGFuBanDa are available. He's got blink as well, so it's going to be a very difficult push for Krystianer to make. I think he's made the right call in backing down, and honestly, Grant, I'm not wild about these additional Stalkers outside going for another push. Again, there's an Oracle, there's a Phoenix for a lift, there's a shield battery back here. This is going to be a tough push for Krystianer up this ramp.
Yeah, the one thing he has is that upgrade advantage, and he has that for about another 15 or so seconds. And if he can push it, if he can find the right fight outside of batteries, there is the opportunity to snowball there. But GunGFu's doing a good job of defending, and once Immortals join the fray, this push kind of dies. You can blink on the Immortal, but then the rest of the DPS of the GunGFu's army would just clear him up. The good thing about this for Krystianer is he's up in the face of his opponent. He's pushing him around. I'm in charge. I'm in command. Behind this, his fourth base is already halfway done. He's getting his Robo. I think that is actually his first, which is quite late. He's getting +2, he's getting charged, he's getting his Templar Archives, really starting to power up. We do see, though, GunGFu has sort of figured out that he is being contained a little bit, and what's he going to do? He is going to, for one, stasis half an army, and for two, get a Prism out on the map, now heading up through the center. Just, here we see, there we go, nice observing, Creighton.
God, I'm good at my job, Grant. You know, some people don't think so, but I'm damn good at this. Another stasis ward goes down, and the Krystianer gets bumped by a second stasis ward. Man, he saw it just a second too late. Loses some more Stalkers, and this entire army at the south side is now unstasis, going to get chased down by GunGFu. He defensively blink away, and he's going to bring his other units in to try and protect against this, but this is going to be so tough. Look at this, even aggressive Zealot warp-ins from GunGFu to catch as many of these Stalkers as he can. This is a really well-managed fight from GunGFu, who now realizes he's slightly behind in economy. This is so good from our German blue Protoss player.
Yeah, this base can't afford to be cancelled though by GunGFu. We do see this counter-attack lined up here towards the north, but I mean, you're not breaking down that wall. All of the peons standing up there, the Zealots ready to charge in at a moment's notice. We do see full retreat right now from Krystianer, who has been hemorrhaging Stalkers just a little bit. If you take a look at the units lost this game, he's lost 9 compared to just 3. He has killed a few workers, he's picked up a sentry or 2 himself, but resources lost do favour GunGFu. The good news for Krystianer is he has had a very slight economic lead in this game, so he can afford to be slightly less cost efficient. Now with +2 finishing here for our red Protoss player, we are going to see a push out, and there is a window once again created of about 20 seconds where if a fight goes in and catching, was that a Prism straight away? Could be a good start. It was the Oracle, right?
Prism's still up, I think. Yeah, just the Oracle went down there. Krystianer sniped that very quickly, but now GunGFu realizes he's overextended. He's gone into the middle of the map and clicked on Krystianer's units and seen that they have that +2 upgrade, so he's going to have to go back and try and fight in a choke point here, but of course the force field is going to get rocked down by those Archons, and this is a beautiful position for Krystianer.
Yeah, he managed to take down one of the Immortals very quickly. He's going to blink forward to take down this overcharging battery, and now the Zealots reinforcing as well. Does mean Krystianer is just taking a huge supply lead, and just like that, A big +2 timing and +1 on the map score here for Krystianer.
I don't know if you noticed that at the very end there, Grant. GunGFuBanDa was actually shooting his own overcharged shield battery with his stalkers there. A couple of them firing at his own building. Clearly a bit flustered there at the end of the game. GunGFu setting up for a +2 timing. Just didn't quite realize he was a little bit behind. And you know, Grant, this is something we've said time and time again. Yes, having an upgrade advantage is great. But if you're in a mirror matchup, if you have an upgrade advantage, that is an unbelievable time to go forward. Krystianer was in a decent spot there economically, but without that +2 upgrade advantage, that fight would have been a push in the middle, and that would have allowed GunGFuBanDa to stay alive a bit longer.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think GunGFu made any huge mistakes. I think Krystianer maybe just executed a little bit better. That final fight, we did see, as you said, some mistargeting. And the shield battery may be a little bit too far forward, a little bit too vulnerable, plus taking some of your own hits isn't great. But Krystianer really, he hit that +2 timing perfectly. We were at the end of the fight, +2 had finished for GunGFu. There was 20 seconds in that window, and Krystianer, you know, he pincered through. He, yeah, we'll go with it, why not? He went straight through and was able to take the win.
It's a little surprising, actually, because GunGFu was actually in the middle of the map when that fight happened. If Krystianer had been pushing at that time, which he was pushing toward GunGFu's 4th, and GunGFu's army wasn't there, Krystianer's attack would have been just late enough where GunGFu probably would have had his +2, give or take, around the time that Krystianer really hit there. So a bit of bad luck for GunGFu pushing aggressively to try and find his own +2 timing. And these two guys, just like we said at the beginning, so evenly matched, Grant. I know Krystianer took game number 1, really pulling for GunGFu to draw things even here. I'd love to see a game 3 between these guys.
Yeah, especially because we don't have a lot of EU action today. We want to get the most out of it that we can. For now, though, we will introduce our players. In the bottom left, he leads series 1-0, representing Poland and Blazer Esports. In the red, it's Krystianer.
And his opponent, up at the top right-hand side in the blue, representing Cascade Gaming in Germany. He is GunGFuBanDa. It's always tough when both players have logos that are blue. Cascade Gaming and Blazer both have blue logos.
You want them both to be on the blue side.
Exactly. And when I'm running a tournament, I don't know if you do the same thing, Grant, but ESL, of course, dictates which players are red and blue. They've got some like replay system that actually matters for that. But when I'm running a tournament, I'm like, okay, if there's a Terran player, he's blue. If there's a Zerg player, he's red.
Correct.
And if like that rule is unfair, then I go to team colors, if at all possible. And unfortunately, both these players blue, so I'd have to flip a coin. But little thing.
Play pink. You don't play like purple and blue in that scenario.
I usually do, yeah. Krystianer, of course, famously loves to play pink. That's his go-to color. He's very much like Stefano, where if he's playing a match, he will always set his default color to pink until the admins specifically tell him to change it.
Which happens very often. Okay.
Yes.
So different openings in the builds once again. Krystianer seems to be playing the more modern meta here, which is that low ground expand on maps like Jagannatha, on maps like Oxide and things like that. Whereas GunGFu plays a little bit more old school. He's keeping his Nexus and his core up in his main, but he has this time, he is going for the 2 gateways as well. So what this means is Krystianer will once again have that earlier Nexus. He is forced to make a Zealot because a pylon will go down at the other side of the map to slow that down. But it actually, I believe, in terms of if you do the science, and Dr. Grant here has done it for you, it is quicker to do this. It is more efficient to go for the low ground and skip that second gateway. But Double Stalkers does make you a little bit vulnerable.
If you could get a PhD in anything, Grant, what field would you get a PhD in?
Handsomeness.
No, come on. If the government was like, Grant, we're going to give you a full ride scholarship to Cambridge to study with the smartest people in the world about whatever you want to study, what would you pick?
Elephants. I really like them. To be honest, I've never seen one in real life, and I'm not 100% certain they're not mythical, but
wow.
I really like elephants. I think they're funny, and they make me, I don't know, that's all I've got created, to be honest. What about you? You do something like actually useful. I'd just be hanging out with elephants.
Dude, like a degree in elephant zoology would be fantastically useful because they're so critically endangered. And if you could do any research on them, that'd be like a very useful degree.
No, I'm not going to do any of that though. I'm just going to like hang around. I'm just going to get a pet elephant.
Just use your PhD as an excuse to legally obtain a pet elephant.
Yeah.
I'm sure Sadiq Khan would love that. Oh, you're not in London. Yeah, you're fine then. Who's the mayor of Bristol? You don't know.
think I know.
Does your mayor still wear the giant gold like T-Pain style chains?
Like 10 times T-Pain style chains, yeah. And they go around with like a bell, like, hear ye. This is a real thing in England, by the way.
I know. I did not think that was a real thing. And then when I lived in Wales, we had a town crier, and I was like, wait,
yeah,
you're kidding,
town crier is a real thing.
Ridiculous. Nice stalker aggression here from GunGFu, by the way. Snipes to sell it, but of course with that shield battery, Krystianer's going to be able to drive him back. And again, Krystianer, as you said, slightly earlier Nexus for him, but not quite the probe lead this time, as he's invested just a little bit more heavily into that earlier Robo this game, realizing, I think, last game, upgrades won me the game last game. If I can figure out where GunGFu's upgrades are, I'm going to be way ahead of him this next game.
Yeah, we do see a slight differential in the builds. That Robo was very, very early here from Krystianer, so getting that nice and quick. Oracle is on the way from GunGFu. Do we have shield batteries in the main, Creighton? I'm going to say almost certainly yes, yeah. These Oracle openings, when you play against such a safe opening, such as Krystianer's, are a little bit risky. Of course, the Stasis Ward always has a threat, but Krystianer showed in Game 1 that he's very good at it. So, I don't know, maybe mix it up could have been better for GunGFu, of course. Hindsight is 2020, and we'll get to see how this all pans out in the next moment or so. Forge going down for Krystianer, considerably quicker than that of his opponent once again. Twilight Council as well, that little bit ahead. And the Stargate is just making one Oracle. I'm not sure. Okay, there, I was just kidding with you. Haha, that was a trick. Blink on the way for Krystianer. Second Oracle coming out. This I prefer, because even with the shield battery there, you can still take out some probes.
Yeah, definitely. I think GunGFu learned from last game, trying a bit of an unorthodox, or at least certainly not in the current meta, going for the Oracle Phoenix play. Not very orthodox, and I think we saw why last game. It's not quite as effective. However, he is using his Oracle energy for a Stasis Ward. Looks like GunGFu wants to draw Krystianer out just a little bit and see if he can catch him in a bit of a honey trap. If these 4 stalkers can get caught in this Stasis Ward, if GunGFu can trick Krystianer into trying to get back at him, this could be a huge play, but there's no way Krystianer takes this bait. I just don't think that's going to be the case.
No, Mr. Stephen Bonnell made this build very popular back in the day. And that is using a couple of units as a magnet. We cannot say what type of magnet, but it's a magnet. And yeah, it gets a big catch there. And what this is going to allow is probably the Oracles to go into the main relatively undefended. Warpins will have to come in the main. This Immortal is too far forward. It could actually be force fielded. They're going to the natural. A force field here could possibly push it further away from the shield battery, but this is a good amount of damage that the Oracles have found, and I really like this from GunGFu. Now he's going to bring the Oracles in as well. This Immortal's doing a lot though, Creighton.
That's really awkward, Grant. Really awkward. Both sides sort of coming out badly there. I think GunGFu setting himself up for a very technical challenge in the natural. If he could pull off of those 3 or 4 attacks all at the same time, that would have been really, really nice. But if you pull up with a battle report, Grant, you'll see that Krystianer actually ended up winning huge there, picking off 2 of the sentries that came too far forward, picking off one of the oracles that attacked at a very awkward angle, and this revelated observer might actually make it. No, he's not. I thought he might make it out alive, but the observer saw absolutely everything in the main base. So Krystianer, I think at the end of that, probably still slightly ahead. And look at the worker count. Yeah, he lost 5, Grant, but he's only 1 worker behind where GunGFu is right now. And his Nexus is going to finish up at about the same time.
Yeah, and the other thing is, when we look at it, tech is looking pretty good here for Krystianer. He had that earlier Robo, which means he already has that 1 Immortal. The Robo now only halfway done for GunGFu. He also, his +1 is quicker. His blink is done. He hasn't started charge just yet. He's sitting on 5 gateways though, Creighton, going up to a total of, I imagine, 7 or 8. But 4 + 3 is 7. I'm good at maths. Oh, this is unnecessary damage though. That was good. 4 workers there, and the Oracle going down, frustrating. But that is now an 8 worker lead that GunGFu has been able to stretch out. And the Oracle, apart from Revelations, I don't know. I see Stasis Swords are pretty bloody good. I don't think it's the worst trade ever made. Certainly wasn't the best.
No, I think Krystianer's got to go now, though. He's got to try and find some counter damage. As you said, down to about 10 workers behind right now. But look at the army supply, quite in favor of Krystianer. And it's not just the supply, Grant. It's the fact that he has all his gateways down now. It's 7 gateways to just 5. He has the Warp Prism, so there's no defender's advantage for GunGFu. And he's got that clutch Immortal as well, which GunGFuBanDa does not yet have. GunGFu getting some Zealots in, but Grant, they're slow Zealots. Charge is not going to be finished for another 30 seconds or so. This is a primo timing attack from Krystianer, but GunGFu has the shield batteries. Maybe he can defend.
The instant blink, even though the shield battery overcharge came in, does mean it falls down really without healing anything. The other thing that blink forward did means the Immortal is in the back, just free firing. It's still managing to get a lot of shots off. That Immortal currently sitting at 4 kills, and that number probably only going to grow. The fight is starting to look very, very close. The line, Krystianer looking to take the game, looking to take the match and the series. The blink forward, very aggressive. Look how many probes are going down now. This is so well played by Krystianer, Creighton.
Yeah, he's done a really nice job. I'm concerned about his finishing power in this fight, though. He lost both the Warp Prism and the Immortal in that last half of that fight, and now Charge is finished up for GunGFu, which does mean these Stalkers going to be forced to kite a little bit more aggressively, and he's got to make sure that his Blink Micro is on point. Krystianer losing a few Stalkers here and there. Seems like he can't kite and Blink at the same time. You know, Grant, these guys make it look so easy, but we cannot overstate just how difficult it is to kite and Blink simultaneously with those Stalkers. So GunGFu is actually going to come out the winner at the backside of that fight. Behind this, though, Krystianer has finished his third. He saturated it, and he's got equal numbers of workers now for GunGFu.
Yeah.
So that was good damage from Krystianer. He probably could have closed out the game with a slightly better fight, but he still did exactly what he needed to do, which was slow down GunGFu and get the rest of his tech going down, with the Templar Archives following this up for some more Archons.
And what I want to talk about, Creighton, and I've hark on and on about it in every game of bloody StarCraft, the upgrades. How far along is GunGFuBanDa's +2, Creighton?
Let me do some math. If it's divided by 3, and then you got to take the radius of pi, and then no, you got to count for gravity. So you have to make sure that the m is in there. But that's a cube, not
the curvature of the F.
Cube, not a square, because of Avogadro's number being finicky there in the 17th digit. And oh wait, he hasn't fucking started it, Grant.
Yeah, no, that's huge. +2 now done, and we saw what Krystianer can do with an upgrade advantage. He's getting a lot of Archons into the mix. They're going to be splashing heavily, dealing with the Zealots quite well. He doesn't have Immortals anymore. It is going to be the 2 Immortals here for GunGFu versus the Zilch here for Krystianer. But Krystianer's going to go for a drop, and actually GunGFu's pushing in here. I feel like at this point, GunGFu probably knows he's relatively in a bad spot, not having that upgrade, and if Krystianer can hold here, Krystianer can take the series.
It's gonna be really tricky though. GunGFu's been dumping a bunch into his army. He's got 69 army supply. Nice. Going up to 77 army supply, Grant. Charge lots in the front, Archons and Immortals in the back. This is a very, very scary army, and that Warp Prism from Krystianer nowhere to be found right now. Krystianer's unit counting station very, very low. The Warp Prism here to try and juggle, but this is actually a great timing attack from GunGFu. That +2 though is gonna put a significant timer on this. GunGFu, move your Immortals back, buddy. Move your Immortals back.
Yeah, this is a very, very strange fight. We do see Zealots coming in from the south side. Archons fighting Archons up at the top side and the Blink forward. I do think GunGFu maybe has too much here. He had the upgrade disadvantage, but it doesn't matter. GG, we get a map through, Creighton.
Man, what an ugly last fight there. GunGFu really surrounding his Immortals and Archons in sort of a shell of protective Zealots and Stalkers, much like your ice cream bars are surrounded in a protective shell of chocolate to prevent them from melting. And GunGFuBanDa is a boy who's eaten a fair few ice cream cones in his day. So he's going to take a really nice fight there. You know, I thought Krystianer had almost enough to finish it off there. He lost a gateway, had a very difficult surround to make, and it was sort of that thing, you know, where it's like Zerg players trying to do a pincer movement, and then they just don't quite have enough on either side, so the whichever player's being flanked can clean up both flanks. That's sort of what GunGFu was able to do there, is just take out one flank. The charge lots in the south didn't get much done, and really great timing from GunGFu despite being down an upgrade there.
I'd be curious to see how that fight goes if Krystianer hadn't sent the drop out at the same time. If he had just a few more extra Zealots, if he had the ability to warp in a slightly more favorable position with that Prism as well, instead of having to send them for a choke point and into another bunch of Zealots. I do think Krystianer had the opportunity here to maybe make this a little bit closer. But once again, hindsight is 2020, and it doesn't work out. The good news for us is we get to go to 2000 Atmo for a map 3.
So exciting. This is a great map, Grant, not just because it's sort of standard. It's like a nice balance of sort of a standard map that's a little bit fresh, but also as somebody who loves creative maps, I just got to say the color palette on 2000 Atmos is one of my favorite things. And again, I know we don't talk about that very much as professional casters. We're usually excited about the strategy and the action and the pacing and story that we're telling with the tournament. But my God, this map is gorgeous, Grant. And if you've got to stare at a StarCraft map for hundreds of hours as a professional player, this nice pink and blue and like light browns color with the underwater effects, the bodies, the corpses that you create go flying past your face. It's well worth the effort. I love 2K Atmos.
I think you got confused there with Doom, Creighton. When corpses are flying past your face and...
No, in 2K Atmos, it's underwater, so the corpses float up past the camera.
I literally had no idea.
What?
I'm not on my glasses, I can't see the game.
It's an underwater map, Grant, so I'll catch one on the observingist, but when something dies, they float like upward, just like, not Ohana, but, chat will correct me, but there have been a couple underwater maps in the past. It's a neat little effect.
Ohana means family. Family means no one's left behind.
Oh, Grant, you're so right. You're so right.
Thanks, Mr. Bitter. We are just waiting. GunGFu did just ask for a couple of minutes, and between the second and third map, we do allow the players just to collect their thoughts, collect their strategies. He is now ready, so we'll be hippity-hopping into 2000 Atmos. Nope, GunGFu just left.
Said ready and then left the lobby right away. My God. My God. Okay, that gives us a chance, Grant. Chat says they didn't understand that last fight, and I think that's fair because it was a tough fight to... It was a tough fight to call on the fly, especially since Krystianer was ahead. Let me start by saying Protoss fights are very often determined by the warp-in cycles of the players. It's not something that's easy to show on screen, but every Protoss player knows exactly in their heads like when their warp-in is ready to go, right? You got that countdown timer going on and on and on. Yep. So if you know when your warp-in's about to happen, you want to engage just as your warp-in round is about ready to go, so that your supply drops just enough that you can replenish it immediately without getting supply blocked. And so there's a lot of like little tiny things that GunGFu did really well in that fight, especially since warping in his stalkers at exactly the right time allowed him to have a significant supply advantage as Krystianer was trying to replenish his forces by warping in as well. So just one of those awkward, like GunGFu took a lead and spun that lead into an insurmountable lead, so that even when Krystianer warped in his units, he didn't quite have enough, and GunGFu rather was still able to take him out.
The exciting thing now, Creighton, about this is we are now in a best of one, not only to determine who potentially can still make it out, because if you lose this, you are 0-4, and it is theoretically extraordinarily unlikely, but also it's a best of one for $125. And that's a pretty interesting piece of information to consider here as we hippity hop into our player in the bottom left representing Cascade Esports. In the blue, it is the German GunGFuBanDa.
And at the top right-hand side in the red, our Polish Protoss player from Blazer Esports. He is Krystianer. Krystianer, 17 years old. GunGFuBanDa is an old-ass man, Grant. You know how old GunGFu is?
24?
He's 23. Yeah. You know how old GunGFuBanDa is? He probably doesn't even have a TikTok, Grant.
I bet you do.
I don't. I hate TikTok.
I don't even know what TikTok is.
I'm not on any social media aside from Twitch and Twitter because I have to be for my work. Like,
I use Facebook so my dad can send me pictures of my dog, but that's the only reason I use it.
That is the correct thing to do on Facebook. Everybody else who's like, I'm going to organize on Facebook. I'm like, no. Have your dad send pictures of your dog. Yeah. It's going to be great. I use
it. And our garden. Been working on it.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
I know, I've got a nice garden actually. I'll show you later. Okay. Again, we have the same openings. GunGFu is going for the in-base 2-gate cyber, and we have the out-of-base 1-gate cyber nexus here from Krystianer. Surprising in a PvP, and it does seem European PvP, at least from what we've seen this event, has evolved to have less proxies. We haven't seen a lot of like Hearthstone play or anything just yet. But I can't recall one, Creighton, with a proxy Stargate or a proxy gateway. Huh.
No, not one. You know, it's funny because usually, Grant, for those of you who don't know, ESL, of course, running 2 streams right now. Be sure to check out the main stream, the A stream, covering Clem versus Shadown right now, I think. And they're great. They got, who is it, Nate and CG and DeMuslim today, a fun casting crew. And we love those guys. But the A stream gets to choose which games we get here on the B stream. So, you know, usually the A stream sort of takes the matches that are a little more consequential. And when we in the B stream get, these matches between the O3 players that don't matter as much, but are still a lot of fun. But usually in the matches that are a little more consequential, I think you're going to see a little bit more cheese here. These players fighting for dear life are going to be a little bit more stable, a little bit more dependable, because both Krystianer and GunGFu are players who know how good their micro is and how good their army control is in the late game. So I would say I'm a little surprised that we haven't seen much more cheese on the B stream, but the more I think about it, the more it makes sense. Yeah, no, it's a good point, well made. Now, Krystianer going for the Stargate once again here in map 2. He did go for that quicker robo, so slight variation. And I don't believe we've seen any tech yet from our German player in the bottom left. He is now going for that Twilight Council late, as sort of expected. So we are having some strategical differences here, so some changes in what they're doing. Strategically, yeah. Strategically speaking, I don't really like or dislike this for either player. Krystianer, I think if he goes just one Oracle, every player has been going shield battery in the main, or both players has been going shield battery in the main so far, and it certainly looks like that will be the case once again, although it's not down just yet, Creighton. quite, but that Oracle's going to be a while before it gets here. It always reminds me, as a caster, it always reminds me of Spore Crawlers for Zerg players, where as soon as I see a Stargate go down, I'm like, oh man, this Zerg player, he better build a Spore Crawler right away or he's in tons of trouble. And then, of course, they know exactly the second they have to start a Spore Crawler, so it finishes just as the Oracle gets to their base or whatever. And I think Protoss players mostly the same way, where they scout something and know exactly when they need to drop that shield battery in their Mineral Alliance. That said, nothing in the main, but of course, if you don't build a shield battery, you can use that money for some stalkers, which are like mobile shield batteries, Grant, driving away oracles all the same.
100%, yeah, mobile shield batteries, they can be overcharged. Can you imagine? This oracle is going to be
overcharge a stalker and it shoots twice as fast,
or just give shields to everything around there.
You know, sentries could do that in the
I know,
in the campaign.
I know. I played some co-op and someone told me about it. I haven't played the campaign, but this Oracle really does not want to be going down. The hallucination here from GunGFu is very nice. It means he's got a good long period of time where this Oracle is never going to sneak by. It's very similar to a Revelation, in fact, except he's got a lot more sentries, so he's able to keep the energy up. He's not going to be missing out on force fields or guardian shields later on, and I really like the way that that's panned out. Third going down here at 5 minutes for Krystianer just before, and GunGFu will be matching at a similar time. So well-timed expansions for both here, which is good to see. We head into a mid-game with, okay, something maybe just a bit funky going on here in the base of Krystianer.
It's a Dark Shrine, which is so exciting. You know, Dark Templar are just such a fun addition to PvPs because they reward very intelligent and very bold players. Like, if you're very smart with your DTs, you can be if you're very smart with your DTs, you can get incredible damage done to a player who's not expecting them or not paying attention. At the same time, if you're not very intelligent with them, you can throw them away so easily. It feels good to warp in 10 DTs, and then if you walk straight into a photon cannon that's checking them all out, you just lose so quickly, Grant. Excited to see what Krystianer can do, but, you know, 8 DTs can take down an Nexus in 3 or 4 shots. Like, it's scary fast.
I like how you say that they reward being very intelligent. In my games, it's more they punish me being a frickin' idiot and forgetting to get detection. Now, we do have a Gerber already on the way, and it is actually going to be seen. The vision there on the Robo will show what that something came out, but nothing came out, if you know what I'm saying. This Oracle, though, shouldn't be finding damage again. Slightly sloppy in the mid game, and this is what makes Oracles and Banshees so good in other matchups, is that the threat is always there, that they can pop in, they can kill 4 workers, and all of a sudden Krystianer has a 7 worker lead. Not for long, but this is now 150 minerals every cycle that's being pumped into remaking these workers. That's another Stalker. That's a, you know, another shield battery. It could be the upgrade delayed a little bit. You do see upgrades starting to complete across the board here. The DT's coming in. Krystianer, is there any static defense on this third base?
No, absolutely not. There's a shield battery, which is great, and there's an observer, which will see the DT, and that'll, of course, drive it away. So 1 DT can draw the observer and the stalkers away, as well as the immortal forces out 2 shield or 2 force fields, rather. But here come the other 2 DTs, and Grant, there's only that 1 observer on the field for GunGFu, so he's certainly going to lose a few little probity boys here. And wow, Krystianer trying to go for some structural damage here. Gets about 6 kills in the natural, but he'll get cleaned up in the main, and this is not the best use of those DTs. Krystianer trading out 3 DTs for 6 probes. Oh, 2 DTs for 6 probes. Still not great.
Not great, but also getting the Oracle damage on top of it. We consider the fact that now the workers have gone down, and I believe the Oracle may have just come in and got another one, in fact, as another worker did just go down. This isn't bad for Krystianer by any means. GunGFu's not dead. We can see here upgrades are still good. Tech is still very good. The Robo now coming in here for our red Protoss player. The blue one already has it. And Twilight Council, Templar Archives coming in for GunGFu. Once again, that is already down for Krystianer. So technology-wise, similar. Maybe some slight differences with the Templar Archives being focused here for Krystianer. And the Robo coming down quicker for GunGFuBanDa, but it does look like we're going to have our first aggression at the north side of the map now, as GunGFu has a very healthy army, up 10 army supplies, charging forward, and I think he could get the council if he goes right now. He would.
No question, Grant. Krystianer's army's here defending the 3rd base. He thinks he's psyched GunGFu out and built his 4th base, maybe a bit unexpectedly, because he's like, well, GunGFu doesn't have a 4th base yet, and I'm ahead economically, so surely he wants to jump ahead and go for a 4th base. GunGFu, interestingly, going to skip that 4th base completely, Grant, and go straight for the natural, trying to catch the army of Krystianer at the 3rd. It looks like GunGFu, spoiling for a fight, feels like he's ahead here, and his +2 is going to finish, and Grant, we might see one of those very, very rare Protoss timings with +2 versus +1 if GunGFu strikes soon.
Yeah, I think he's just giving up about enough time. We should see the 15-second timer start right now. There we go. So Krystianer at this point, by the time the fight starts and gets into full gear, yeah, there's not going to be an upgrade disadvantage. That's nice. I do think a DT was at the other on the other side of the map during that. It didn't find any damage though. It killed like a pylon or something along those lines. Very, very little. So everything is looking pretty good. Army supplies are very even. Krystianer does have the bigger work account, and he does have that 4th base coming up now down at the east side, but he cannot afford to take a bad fight, and this is a bad fight, Creighton.
My God, one thing Zealots can't do is blink, and those 4 force fields catching an absolutely huge number of Zealots. Very nice opener to that fight for GunGFu, who's now significantly ahead. He's zoned out these Zealots in the south side as well. Sure, he blunders into a stasis toward the 3rd base, but the warp prism, the fake warp prism from GunGFu, drawing some of the fire out. This is so cute from him. And Krystianer, basically all on Zealots. Look at them all derping around back there, Grant. This is just an atrocious fight for Krystianer.
Yeah, all of the Zealots starting to fall. The Archon's still standing strong, and soon the Zealots will be free here from GunGFuBanDa. GunGFu is up about 15 army supply, and the number continuing to grow. And just like that, GunGFu, who I thought builds weren't as clean in this game, his fights were much, much cleaner, much better executed. And he is now going to be able to storm forward as long as he doesn't allow Krystianer to push him back. I just can't see any way now. This is going to be very difficult. The good news for Krystianer, though, that 4th base is alive. He has to hold now. He cannot die now.
Interesting choice from Krystianer here to sort of warp it over to the 4th base, maybe try and protect the rest of his bases instead of saving his own infrastructure. He's just lost his cyber core at the low ground. Of course, Grant, that means no more stalker warpage, but more importantly, no more shield batteries able to be built either, which just means that all the sort of tools that Krystianer needs to defeat this weird army are gone from his bag, and he's got to hope that a mass zealot defense is going to be enough.
I mean, 29, 25, army supply to 36, and Krystianer's fighting valiantly, but behind this, we do see the 4th has gone down for GunGFu. Neither player has been able to start an upgrade advantage. Maybe the option is bring probes off the line now. Maybe that's the only way you hold this, but even that I don't think is going to work here. This is just far too much army for GunGFu. Now, the armor upgrade has completed for Krystianer. His Zealots, that bit tankier, and I think he's going to try. I think he's going to go for one last stand, one final hurrah, so to speak. And here we go, the Hail Mary push coming in, but you can't get down the ramp.
Nah, man, he can't fight with an Archon on the ramp. He got a bunch of Zealots backed up behind it like a stopped pipe. Terrible, terrible engagement for Krystianer, and he's just really struggling to defend this. Don't get me wrong, it was a difficult fight to win in the first place, but my God, that was about the worst army management I've seen. He's trapped in his main base now, and honestly, GunGFu could warp into his heart's content, finish his 4th base, and as long as he defends against this little Zealot charge push, he should be just fine.
Yeah, 4 Zealots, 5 Zealots, not going to be enough here. This base will go down as well. Battery overcharge used to some of it, as the army actually going to be forced to put. We have even Archons being juggled in and out of that prism. There's a lot of Zealots here, but the Archons and the Zealots are going to be offering so much steady DPS with Stalkers just blasting from behind. Krystianer is trying so hard to stay in this game, but now his main has been breached, and he is in a world of pain, Creighton. I think it's a matter of time.
If you thought it was hard to fight an army that was trying to come up into your main, imagine trying to fight an army that's already in your main by coming up this ramp. There are no force fields here for GunGFu, and I would love to see him warp in a couple centuries to force field off that ramp, but I think he needs all the DPS he can get, considering that the Archons are all here. We see the warp-ins coming in, of course, with no stalkers to fight that warp prism. It's an